And again, to me, the easiest way, since it's written in slope-intercept form, the easiest way to do this would be to plot your y-intercept, which is what? -2. So we're going to plot that point. So the point 0, -2. There's one of my solution points. And then use the rise over run of my slope. So I'm going to go up how many? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over how many? 2. And so when you look at this, we have an x-coordinate of 2, and our y-coordinate is 3. So here's our 2 points, and we can just connect these with the straight line. Okay? And so if this was the question on your quiz tomorrow, all you'd have to do is label your 2 points like this, have a sketch that's relatively to scale here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that gives you your values. Okay, now, if you ever wanted to check your solutions and make sure that they're right, you can use your calculators to graph all of this. And here's how you would use your calculator. Again, it is pretty straightforward. I mean, hopefully you don't need to use your calculator to answer these, but if you wanted to use it to check it, from your calculators, if you go to the y-editor, so remember the y-editor is located at the green diamond F1 button. So if you go green diamond F1, and you can go into your y-editor. You can clear out anything that happens to be in there. And you're going to type this equation into your y-editor. So if we type in 5/2x minus 2, it should automatically interpret that. So you don't need to you don't even need parentheses around this, and you don't need to infer the multiplication, or it will infer the multiplication for you. You don't have to specifically put multiplication. And so you see, once you enter that, 5/2x minus 2, and you hit enter, it'll type that into your y-editor. What you can now do is view the graph. And the graphing window, again, is green diamond F3 this time. So if you hit green diamond and F3, it'll automatically pull it up and show you what your graph looks like. Okay, now, a couple things to remember on this graph. Which one looks steeper, the one that I hand drew or the one on the calculator? The one I hand drew. That's going to be more accurate as far as if I've scaled these, so my x's and my y's are approximately the same distance apart from one another. Okay, you'd like it to be scaled if you can. Now, what do you notice about the screen on our calculators? Enter.
On the y part, the dashes are closer together.
Good. So here the scale on the x's and the y's is still the same. Every mark is representing one unit. However, this is like for those of you who are lucky enough to have like the high-def TVs that are much wider than they are tall. And when you look at people on there, they look like they're squatty, right? It kind of condenses them down and they look like they're a little bit thicker people than if you see it on like a regular old school TV. Right? So it's kind of the same thing here. You need to understand that it's not high def, but the dimensions are off a little bit here. So even though this looks more like it would have a slope of 1, it in fact represents a much steeper slope than that. So be aware of that. Okay? The couple things that you should be able to find from this graph. Okay? First of all, if you needed to plot points based on your graph, there's a couple ways to do it. One really easy way to do it is if you hit this F5 tab, this math tab, okay, which is just F5. If we hit this F5 button, notice that one of the choices that we have right here is value. One of the useful things about value is when you're in this graph mode and you access value, you can find any corresponding set of coordinates. So let's say I wanted to find what y was equal to when x is 0. And it showed me right away. When x is 0, the xc just means x coordinate of 0. Then the y coordinate is -2. So I could plot one point here. Let's say I wanted to plot the point where x is 1. What's y going to be when x is 1? I simply type in 1, hit enter, and it tells me my x-coordinate is 0.5. So I could have plotted this point 1, 0.5. Okay, what if I wanted to find when the value of 2? I just type in x is 2, hit enter, it's 3. I see that up here, it's confirmed. What if I wanted to find when x is 10? Just type in 10, hit enter. So my corresponding y-coordinate would be 23. So you can find that for any given values here. Okay. Now there's another place where you can find all of these too, and that's the table, which we talked about before. If instead of viewing the graph, if you viewed the table, which is right here, which is green diamond F5, remember it gives you all the values in specific increments that you can determine by using the table set. But here you could find the same thing. When x is 2, y is 3. When x is 0, y is negative 2. So you can go down, scroll through these, and find corresponding points also. And so you should always be able to find your points very easily. Again, I think the easiest way is to count it out. Go y-intercept and then use the slope to get it. Okay. Are there questions about that method using slope-intercept form? Let's do an example of one that's in intercept form. So let's say, let's look at problem 56. Okay, so let's say my equation looked like this. Okay, again, if I were needing to sketch this graph, because it's already written in intercept form, what I would simply do is I'd set up my x and y coordinates, and I'd find my y-intercept and my x-intercept. My y-intercept can be found by plugging a 0 in for x. So if I let x equal 0, that whole term disappears, right? Because 5 times 0 is nothing. And so what would my corresponding y be if I solved for this remaining expression? Divide both sides by 10, we get y is equal to 3. So I have 0, 3. There's 1 point. Again, you do need to label your points to get full credit on these. All right, so I got 3, 1, 2, 3, plot my point, label it 0, 3. And then I check when my x-intercept. My x-intercept occurs when y is 0. So if I let y equal 0, which would eliminate this whole term, what would the corresponding x have to be? 6. And so I get my point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can label it 6, 0, connect these to form a straight line, and I have my graph. Okay? It doesn't matter which way you use. Okay? Use the one that works for you or works best based on the way the problem is set up. Okay? Once again, if you were solving this, you could have instead converted this into y-intercept form. If that was the case, you would solve for y. So you'd subtract a 5x from both sides, divide every term by 10, and that would give you the equation y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus 3. And if this were your case, you'd plot your y-intercept of 0, negative 3. So it would be the same point. You'd use your slope of down 1 over 2 to find your other point. That would give you the coordinate 2, 2. So instead of having 0, 3, and 6, 0, you would have the point 0, 3, and 2, 2. Okay? Doesn't matter what you choose. I would like you, though, to pick points that are, I don't want you to go out of the way. I don't want you to use your calculator and say, okay, well, one of my points is going to be for this one up here, 0, negative 2, and my other point, I'm going to use the value of 100. So my other point is, oops, it's out of the window, let's use the value of 10. Okay, I don't want to use 1023. I mean, again, be reasonable, be within just a few of kind of what that viewing window would be in your sketch. So if you're going to plot a point that's way out there, you would need to sketch your graph accordingly. So I'd prefer you just stay within the smaller viewing window that you can. All right, let's say you wanted to solve this type of equation by using your calculators. Any ideas on how you would do that? Okay, from the y editor, when you're entering equations in y-editor, you have to have slope-intercept form, or you have to solve for y. And so you can't graph this equation as it is. Any ideas? Any other ideas on how you can do this? Okay. The only other way that you could possibly use your calculator to help set that up is if you used the solve key, so F2, and you took this equation, 5x plus 10y is equal to 30, and you solved it for y, what would I actually be solving for here? I'm taking this equation and rewriting it in what form? Slope-intercept. So if I hit enter, I now have my slope-intercept form. So what I can do is highlight this. If I go up to my display screen and highlight the whole thing, and I hit green diamond and then this up arrow. Green diamond up arrow is the copy command. So I can copy that whole thing and then just go paste it in my y-editor. And so if I paste it, green diamond, and then escape is my paste. Okay, there's one last adjustment you need to make because the y-editor already has y equals. So you need to erase that part of your equation. So erase the y equals part that came along with your copy. And now when you go in, you can view the graph. And this is the graph of number 56. Is that confirmed with my hand sketch? Do those look pretty similar? Yeah. And if I wanted to check these numbers too, I could hit F5 value. When x is 0, the y-intercept is 3, which is correct. And I could check when x is 6, is my corresponding y value 0? Yes. So it confirms that as well. Okay, so you can use your calculators to confirm your answers for these.